Hey guys, so today's video is going to be a little different because I will be cooking today. And actually specifically, I will be throwing a Game of Thrones themed feast while watching the latest episode of Game of Thrones. I am a huge fan of Game of Thrones and I also love cooking as well. So I thought I might show you guys what I did, how I prepared it. Although it's not yo-yo related, it's still something I enjoy and thought I might add onto this channel as well. So I'm throwing a Game of Thrones inspired type of food feast, and I'm inviting some of my friends over and we are going to watch the latest episode of Game of Thrones as well. If you are not up to date to the latest season, possible spoilers because many of these foods are spoilers in themselves because they have a little story behind them. If you don't watch Game of Thrones or you're not a fan or you don't really care, that's okay too because you can just see how I prepared all this food anyway. I will be making 7 different types of dishes part of this feast, and I think I might have made a little bit too much. So I first started off by making Sansa's favorite lemon cakes. Numerous times throughout the show, she has mentioned that she loves these type of lemon cakes, and I decided to somehow recreate them. First, I got some flour and added a little bit of more flour. Then I added some baking powder, a few pinches of salt, which I later realized I probably did not need, but I added anyway. And then I mixed all these dry ingredients together with a whisk. To be honest, I'm actually not a big baker because when I cook, I like to not use precise measurements. I just kind of use my eyes. But when it comes to baking, you do need precise measurements, and I didn't really do that for this recipe. So just a little note, these came out okay. Maybe not as best as I wanted them to. And also, I know it's better to individually mix your dry and wet ingredients separately, but I did it differently. Basically, I just didn't want to clean another bowl, so I just kind of put it all together without thinking. And then also the most important ingredient, which I completely forgot, were the lemons because it's called lemon cake. So I took the juice of some lemons and the lemon zest and added that inside as well. And then I put them into my somewhat slightly greased muffin pans. What you should use is some cooking spray so it doesn't stick onto it, but I didn't really have that. And then I put it into the oven for about 30 minutes. And then it came out quite beautiful, and I let it cool. Uh-oh. And it definitely stuck to the muffin pans. Oopsie doopsie. I made an oopsie.
I wanted to make it sweeter by creating a glaze for the top, so I microwaved some powdered sugar and some more lemon juice together, mixed it up, then dipped the cakes into it.
The next meal I made doesn't really have anything inspired by it, but a lot of the dishes that I made were meat-based and I wanted to get some veggies in there, so I decided to slow cook some veggies in my crock pot.
Alright, so first you should cut some carrots, sweet potatoes, but don't cut it the way I did it because it was quite dangerous. Chopped onions. And finally, some green beans.
So I put this all into a slow cooker with a little bit of chicken stock if you like. I didn't add any seasonings to it. I will just season it with salt and pepper later. I just wanted to make some basic veggies to make the meal a little bit more balanced or healthy. And I slow cooked this for 6 hours. The next meal, which is actually my favorite and most fun to make, but also very super gross. One of the most infamous meals in Game of Thrones is of course Arya's Frey pies. But as I rewatched this particular episode where she did make this pie and serve it to Walder Frey, it was so gross, so gross. So much so that I just did not want to make it at all. And I didn't want to serve it to anyone. It was so disgusting. After that, I was like, okay, there's no way I can make those type of pies. I just lost my appetite. Instead, the type of pies I am going to make are Old Nan's mini meat hot pies. In the show, it was mentioned that Old Nan made kidney pies with the peas and onions, but I'm not really too keen on kidney, so I decided to make my own version of these little mini hot pies, maybe made by Hot Pie. I first took some ground pork and I marinated it in soy sauce. This is very key and it will make a huge difference in the flavor. Then I had to cut up celery.
So good.
And then chop some onions. I've seen PewDiePie chop onions in his Swedish meatball video, and he did not chop them correctly. And I'm going to show you how you chop an onion correctly. First, you need to cut the onion in half, but making sure that the root is still on it. I'm going to hold on to that root and then cut against the grain. Then you slice right in the middle and then again on the top. And then from here, you chop down. So you get these really nice chopped onions.
So satisfying.
Right? Then chop some carrots. Now we get to start cooking. And you first want to take your marinated pork, put it on a medium heat, and put it into the pan. Cook that up a bit, break it apart as much as you can with your wooden spoon. Once that's fully cooked through, then you then want to move it onto a separate plate. I have some paper towels so it like soaks up all the excess like juices. And then we're going to work on our veggies. Now you're going to saute all of these into your pan, add some butter, and let these go for about 7 minutes on a low medium heat until they're quite soft. So now once all your vegetables are done, you want to add some chicken stock to the mixture. Now you add in your cooked pork and combined all of that together. So once you've incorporated the meat into the veggies, you then want to add your frozen peas. Once you're satisfied with its combined state, you then want to make a slurry. Now a slurry is just equal parts of potato starch and water. So I mix it together and I slowly add it in, getting this desired really thick consistency that I want, because I want it all to stick together. I don't want it to be liquidy. So this is done and I put this to the side to let it cool down a bit, because then I'm gonna make the pastry part. So I didn't show this part, but essentially I just took some puff pastry and I cut little circles with just a coffee cup. So I put the circles inside each pan and then I filled it up with my meat filling with a little spoonful of each to go inside. I then next made an egg wash, which was just beaten egg with some water. And I just took my fingers and I just runned it around. So as I got that all on, I then took my fork and started to somehow bind the two like puff pastries together, so it created, you know, your little pie. These are some of my favorites and they looked so beautiful and yummy, and they really like puffed up quite large, so they're quite filling. And so the next thing I'm making are the Hound's chickens. I didn't show the preparation before this part, but essentially I used all my leftover veggies that I had from the meat pies. I drizzled some olive oil on top of it as well as some salt and pepper, and I essentially made this bed for the two chickens to lie on. Next part is possibly a little gross, a little weird looking. So I essentially made this spread of softened butter, chopped basil, mashed garlic, mixed it all together, and I put this under the skin and over the skin. You want to loosen up the skin that's connected to the meat because you're going to put that butter spread underneath. And this is going to keep the chicken super moist. I hate that word, but that's what it's going to do. And the most important thing, which I completely forgot to add into it, is a lemon. It makes the chicken more plumped and it like kind of stands up more right. And that's about it. And I put my chicken in for over an hour or so. To warn you, the steam is gonna go up, okay? Because I didn't have any fan. Not as heavy as a turkey. Yeah, it looks beautiful.
I then covered it with tin foil and let it rest for as long as I cooked it for.
A unique special. I decided to make some sausages and meatballs. If you know the show, if you know what I'm talking about, yeah, It doesn't need any more explanations. I made some meatballs, but I first sauteed some onions, let that cool down a bit. I took a mixture of ground beef and ground pork with some panko breadcrumbs,
1 egg, almond milk, a little bit of sriracha for added flavor, oregano, then mixed it together with my hands.
And then I rolled them together into little meatballs. So I had some flour on them, I got my big wok, and I just made a bunch of meatballs in there. And then I had some sausages, some really nice pork sausages that I just made in a cast iron. There you go, the Unix special, Theon sausages, and the unsullied sausages, and meatballs. Now I also additionally made some deviled dragon eggs, but I didn't want to use some food coloring, so instead I used the beet juices. They stain quite well, but when I did it, it didn't really turn out too well. When I stored it in the fridge, the color just sort of faded. It is what it is, so I just made some deviled eggs. But as I said, a lot of this is a lot of meat, and I had some veggies going, but I also wanted to make a salad. So I made a dream of spring salad. At least that's what I called it. Really, you can do whatever you want. Grated some carrots. I put some radishes, avocado, fresh cucumber, tomato, a green onion. Oh, I didn't add avocado, I forgot that. And it came out quite beautifully. So you can really make any type of like salad combination, but what is important is my own special salad dressing. So I took some soy sauce, Japanese mayo,
Dijon mustard, sesame oil, honey, but I had some agave syrup, rice wine vinegar, grated garlic, and then finish with some grated pepper. Mix with a whisk, then transfer it into a container for everyone to use.
But when I displayed the salad, I also additionally put some mandarin oranges on top, and I think it looked really beautiful. And that was about it. I also made some little like fruit veggie platters with some hummus so we can all eat while we're watching, you know, the episode. So that was it, and I invited all my friends over. And we had such a great time. Of course, we had a lot of red wine. We have to, my gosh, like they drink it on the show all the time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was a little bit different. If you are interested in seeing me do some other things, or you just want me to just only do yo-yos, just let me know in the comments below. Anyways, so I will talk to you guys later. Bye.